Welcome to today's Explainer. We are standing right at the edge of this massive, absolutely seismic shift in how artificial intelligence actually operates. We are rapidly moving away from that old era of isolated, single-task AI models, and we are officially entering the age of autonomous, self-regulating AI fleets. But as you might guess, this incredible leap forward brings up a massive, sprawling problem. How do you actually control a system that thinks for itself across a huge distributed network? Well, today we are unpacking some fascinating recent insights from Christopher Coleman on the absolutely critical necessity behind runtime governance. Okay, let's dive right into this. So here is the billion-dollar question. Who governs an AI that governs itself? Seriously, think about that for a second, because this is the absolute crux of the issue. When you have these highly complex, self-regulating AI swarms operating at lightning-fast machine speeds, who is actually in charge? Allowing these vast networks to just operate without proper oversight raises the stakes to an astronomical level. We aren't just talking about a single chatbot giving a bad answer anymore. We are talking about entire ecosystems of intelligence making collective, real-time decisions. Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. We're going to break this huge topic down into 5 logical steps. Number 1, the age of AI swarms. 2, the threat of emergence. 3, real AI gone rogue. 4, why traditional governance fails. And finally, number 5, the runtime governance solution. All right, kicking things off with part 1, the age of AI swarms and moving way beyond isolated agents. Look, the era of that single isolated AI model, the one just executing a narrow, clearly defined task, that is officially over. We have to completely reframe how we even think about AI architectures now. Christopher Coleman introduces this brilliant concept called metacognitive swarm intelligence, or MSI for short. Now, what does that mean? We are talking about collections of autonomous agents that don't just act on a prompt. They monitor, we evaluate, and they actually regulate themselves. These are heterogeneous cognitive systems. That basically means they are capable of micro-metacognition, so thinking about their own thinking at the individual agent level, and macro-metacognition across the entire collective. They literally observe themselves and adjust on the fly. To put this into perspective, the leap in capability here is just massive. With traditional AI, you've got isolated agents, narrow tasks, and simple local rules. Pretty straightforward, right? But MSI, we're talking about autonomous collectives that are entirely self-regulating and can reorganize their responsibilities dynamically. MSI has enormous potential. A fleet of intelligent agents can adapt roles, specialize in real time, and alter its behavior the second conditions change. But, and this is a big but, this exact flexibility introduces a staggering governance gap. Which brings us to Section 2, the threat of emergence, and specifically, unintended behaviors. Because these fleets are adapting roles on the fly, we really have to talk about the unintended consequences of this powerful new paradigm. Emergence happens when a system produces behaviors that were never explicitly designed by any individual developer, usually in response to changing conditions. Now, it is crucial to understand that emergence isn't automatically a failure. In fact, in a lot of cases, emergence is exactly what makes multi-agent systems so incredibly powerful. It's like a giant puzzle solving itself, allowing them to tackle problems we didn't even know how to program them for in the first place. But because it adapts in real time, it absolutely requires someone or something to watch it. So we've got to ask ourselves, who exactly is observing the behavior that the collective itself didn't even anticipate? An MSI might be perfectly capable of examining its own cognitive process, sure, but that doesn't automatically mean it can independently determine if an emerging behavior is safe, if it's authorized, or if it even aligns with your organizational policies. Self-awareness in an AI swarm is absolutely not the same thing as organizational governance. Not even close. Without that governance, the fleet basically becomes a sprawling attack surface. It's a domino effect. Step 1, an agent gets compromised. In the old days, that was an isolated problem. But now, step 2, trusted communication is manipulated. That compromised agent starts talking to its peers. Step 3, shared memory is altered. The bad data suddenly becomes part of the hive mind. And finally, step 4, the entire fleet's behavior is influenced. A single point of failure can instantly cascade right through delegated tasks and collective decision processes. That leads us right into Section 3, Real AI Gone Rogue, where we're going to bust a major myth. Let's be real for a second and bust this Hollywood myth about what it actually means when AI goes rogue. When most of us hear rogue AI, we instantly picture the sci-fi version, a malicious awakening, some dramatic robot rebellion. But the practical reality is so much quieter and honestly a lot more insidious. Real rogue AI is system drift. It's inconsistent memory across a fleet, it's conflicting goals where one system is just trying to optimize for a local objective, but in doing so, it totally violates a broader company policy. A system doesn't need to be consciously malicious to be dangerous. Just using an unauthorized capability or misinterpreting an objective at machine speed is more than enough to cause total chaos. So, how do we handle this? Let's look at Section 4, Why Traditional Governance Fails and the Problem with the Speed of the Swarm. We desperately need a new approach to control this creeping, quiet threat, because the problem with traditional governance is pretty obvious. It relies on static policies, documentation, periodic audits, and post-event reviews. You're basically checking what happened after the fact. But continuous intelligence, that operates continuously with fleet-wide coordination and dynamic reorganization. Traditional audits and post-event reviews are completely, hopelessly insufficient against intelligence that operates and adapts nonstop. You can't audit a system on Friday if it completely reorganized its own neural pathways on Wednesday, right? And that brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the Runtime Governance Solution, and introducing Warden. This right here is the core focus of today's explainer. As Coleman points out, governance absolutely has to move into runtime. The Warden architecture does exactly this by observing the total operating state of the system. We cannot just ask the AI system if it believes it's behaving correctly. It's literally like asking a student to grade their own exam while they are still taking it. The system absolutely needs an external, completely objective operational record to maintain authority. So what exactly is this external observer looking for? Well, here are a few crucial things Warden monitors in runtime. It watches agent behavior and tracks memory changes. It catches system drift, identifying the exact moment when the AI slowly starts moving away from its intended purpose. It monitors permissions, tool usage, and anomalous coordination. For example, if two agents that never talk suddenly start sharing massive amounts of encrypted data, Warden sees that instantly. It maintains strict authorization boundaries in real time. Here's the really crucial point, the whole so what of this explainer. It's how these two systems interact. MSI is super flexible, it's probabilistic, it asks how does the collective understand and regulate its own intelligence. Warden, on the other hand, is completely deterministic. It asks how does the organization maintain awareness, evidence, and authority over that collective. What we are doing is placing deterministic boundaries around non-deterministic intelligence. The AI gets to adapt, be flexible, and solve insanely complex problems, while the governance system keeps the accountability, the history, and the evidence entirely strict and observable. I love this quote. It's probably the most powerful takeaway of this whole concept. The goal is not to prevent emergence. The goal is to make emergence visible. Runtime governance isn't about throwing a net over the AI and restricting it so much that it becomes useless. It's entirely about awareness. It's about letting the intelligence flourish and do what it does best, while ensuring your organization always has an airtight, deterministic record of who authorized an action, what memory was changed, and which policy was active at that exact millisecond. Coleman really hits the nail on the head here when he writes, and when intelligence becomes an ecosystem, governance must become an ecosystem too. The future is not just one single AI in a box. It's models interacting with agents, agents interacting with tools, and entire fleets reorganizing around complex objectives. MSI gives the fleet the metacognition it needs to operate. Warden gives the organization the awareness of the fleet it needs to stay in control. The next generation of AI infrastructure absolutely requires both to function safely. I want to leave you with a final kind of provocative thought today. As we rapidly transition from single tools to autonomous collectives, the technology itself is already moving from deterministic to non-deterministic. The real question is, are your deterministic boundaries ready for a non-deterministic swarm? It's a massive, unprecedented challenge, but as we've explored today, understanding runtime governance is the very first step to solving it. Keep thinking about how your own organizations are going to handle the incredible and highly complex age of AI collectives. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.